My name is Ophelia Flores. I'm 38, and I work as a sales manager at a small electronics company here in the Midwest. The story I'm about to tell happened 1 week ago, on my son Ryan's 12th birthday. Ryan is my only child. He's in 7th grade, and a year ago, he transferred into an advanced program, gifted students, tougher classes, higher expectations, and the kind of social pressure that doesn't show up on report cards. At first, my boyfriend Ethan Carter and I were proud. We celebrated like good parents do. Pizza night, extra hugs, that proud glow that makes you feel like you did something right. Then reality moved in. Ryan started coming home quieter. He started asking questions that weren't really questions. All week before his birthday, he kept circling the same fear like a tooth he couldn't stop touching. "Mom, is our house okay?" he asked one night, standing in the doorway while I folded laundry. He didn't even step inside, like he was afraid the question might stain the room. What if my friends think it's too small? Another day it was the food. "Mom, are we getting the good stuff? Like, what if it's not enough? What if they're disappointed?" Every time he said something like that, my heart did this awful tightening thing, like it was trying to protect itself by shrinking. Because I understood him. When I hit puberty, I was the same way, too aware of every look, every laugh, every whisper that might not even be about me. I remembered sitting in classrooms feeling like the world was a spotlight, and I was the only one who didn't know my lines. So I didn't blame my son for being sensitive. I blamed the world for being cruel, and I promised myself his 12th birthday would be a day where the world couldn't touch him. Ethan and I planned carefully. We didn't have the kind of money where you throw it around without thinking. $450 was not a casual number for us. That was groceries and gas and a little breathing room. But we did it anyway. We hired a small catering service. We decorated the backyard with blue and silver balloons. We ordered the cake Ryan wanted, the one with the soccer theme because he'd been obsessed lately, desperate to feel like he belonged somewhere. We invited his classmates, our neighbors, my parents, Diane and Harold, and a handful of close relatives. And of course, my sister, Kendra Flores, 25 years old, fresh out of college, working as a student teacher at the local elementary school. Kendra was the type of person who needed life to feel like a highlight reel. She posted everything: classroom crafts, coffee cups, family dinners, candid photos that were never actually candid. She called herself Ryan's fun aunt, and for most of his life that had been true. That morning, November 2nd, the exact day 12 years earlier, when I'd been awake for 16 hours of labor, everything looked like it was going to be perfect. At 6 a.m., my phone rang. Kendra's name lit up the screen like an early warning I didn't recognize yet. "Ophelia," she said, voice vibrating with excitement. "Do you have a big TV screen at your place?" Half asleep, I blinked at the ceiling. "We have one in the living room. Why?" "I made something for Ryan," she sang. "A special gift. He's going to remember it forever." Back then, I assumed she meant something sweet. Last year, she'd put together a montage video for Mom's birthday. Old photos, gentle music, a few clips of us as kids. It made my mother cry in the good way, the way that feels like warm water over a bruise. So I didn't suspect anything. I should have, because right before she hung up, Kendra lowered her voice and added, "And don't try to peek. It has to be a surprise." The way she said it, like she was guarding a prize, put a small, cold pebble in my stomach. But I told myself I was being paranoid. At 10 a.m., Sunday morning, I was in the backyard checking tables and chairs, while Ethan carried out coolers of drinks. The balloons I'd blown up the night before floated against the fence like bright little promises. The banner, "Happy 12th Birthday, Ryan," stretched between two old oak trees. It looked beautiful, at least to me. Footsteps came down the stairs behind me. Ryan appeared in a new navy polo shirt, hair combed more carefully than usual. He stopped at the window and stared out at the yard with worried eyes, like he was trying to predict the future. He turned toward me, mouth slightly open, ready to ask the question I already knew was coming. I didn't let him. I walked over, placed my hand on his shoulder, and said gently, "Everything's going to be fine, sweetheart." Ryan nodded, but he kept biting his lip, a habit he had when his thoughts were too loud. Ethan stepped up beside him, gave him that quiet dad look, steady, warm. "Your friends are coming because they like you," Ethan said, "not because of a house." Ryan's eyes softened for half a second. Then he looked away again, like he didn't fully trust it. An hour later, a car door slammed outside and my parents walked in. My mother, Diane, carried a beautifully wrapped box and hugged Ryan like she could squeeze courage into him. 12 years old, she said proudly, practically a young man. Ryan blushed, embarrassed in that preteen way where affection is a little too public. But he smiled, an actual smile, and it made my chest loosen. My father Harold patted Ryan's shoulder. Proud of you, kiddo. As they headed toward the backyard to help set up, Ryan followed my mom and whispered, Do you think my friends will like the party? Mom stopped, turned, and softened her expression like she was holding something fragile. Sweetheart, she said, real friends come because of you. Be yourself. Don't twist yourself into someone else just to be loved. Ryan nodded, shoulders dropping slightly, like he'd set down a weight. I watched the scene from the doorway, heart aching. He was so young and already carrying fear like it was part of growing up. For a moment, I almost laughed at myself thinking, if he's this nervous now, what will he be like on his wedding day? Then the cold pebble in my stomach returned. Because at 2:15 p.m., Kendra arrived, and she didn't come in empty-handed. She walked through my front door carrying a large laptop like it was a crown jewel. Her smile was bright, too bright, and her eyes flicked toward the living room TV like she'd already pictured the moment she'd press play. Kendra, Ryan said politely, because he was a good kid. She hugged him too tight and chirped, I have a special gift for you. You'll remember this forever. Ryan laughed awkwardly and wriggled free, already running back outside to be with his friends. Kendra, meanwhile, set the laptop down near the TV with careful, practiced movements. My stomach tightened. Ethan stepped closer to me and murmured, She's really serious about this. I tried to keep my tone light. Kendra always does dramatic stuff. It's probably a sweet montage. But even as I said it, I didn't believe myself. I walked up to her. What are you preparing? Kendra's eyes glittered. It's a secret. Don't ruin it. Ethan crossed his arms. Can we just preview it real quick? Ryan's at a sensitive age. Kendra waved him off like he was a buzzing fly. You're both worrying too much. I know what I'm doing. My skin prickled, because last year she let everyone see the video before playing it publicly. This time she guarded it like a weapon. Mom stepped in, voice gentle but firm. Honey, if it's going to be shown to everyone, we should make sure it won't embarrass him. Kendra's smile didn't move, but her tone sharpened. Why is everyone trying to see it? It's for Ryan. I glanced at Ethan. He was watching Kendra's hands. How quickly she connected cables. How confidently she adjusted settings, like she'd rehearsed this moment in her head for days. I whispered, barely moving my lips. Do you feel uneasy? Ethan's jaw flexed. Yeah. Kendra straightened, lifted the remote like a conductor ready to start the music, and beamed at us all. Perfect, she announced. Ready, everyone. Get ready. And even though the party outside was still full of sunlight and laughter, the air inside our house suddenly felt darker, like something was about to happen that we couldn't take back. The strange thing about dread is how it can sit quietly inside you while everything else looks normal. Outside, the yard was still bright, blue and silver balloons bobbing in the wind, sunlight flashing off plastic cups, kids yelling over each other as they ran around the mini soccer goals Ethan had set up. Somebody's speaker was playing upbeat music, and from a distance, it would have looked like the kind of birthday you'd take a picture of and frame. But I kept hearing Kendra's voice in my head. You'll remember this forever. Ryan's birthday didn't just matter to him. It mattered to me in a way I couldn't explain without sounding dramatic. It felt like a test, like if we could give him one day where he felt wanted, maybe it would cancel out all the days he felt less than. By 4 p.m., after cake and presents, the party was at its most alive. The kids had finished 2 rounds of mini soccer and were sweaty and flushed, laughing the way kids do when they still believe they're safe. Ryan wasn't that tense boy from the morning anymore. He was grinning, cheeks bright, hair messed up from running. He'd scored 2 goals, and his best friend Tyler had cheered like Ryan just won the World Cup. This party is awesome, I heard one of the boys say. Your food is so good. Ryan's shoulders loosened, like those words had permission to heal something in him. I stood near the fence with Ethan, watching. My chest felt light for the first time all day. Ethan leaned close and murmured, See, he's good. I exhaled, He's good. And then Kendra clapped her hands loudly. It was a sharp sound, slicing right through the kids' noise. The music faded in the background. Heads turned. Kendra stood near this patio door, holding the remote like she'd been waiting for this exact second. All right, everyone, she announced, voice overly bright. Now it's time for my special gift for my beloved nephew. That pebble in my stomach turned into a rock. Ryan jogged over, wiping his forehead with the hem of his shirt. He was flushed from running, still smiling, until he saw all those eyes on him. He sat down at the main table, trying to look casual, but his ears were already turning pink. Tyler dropped into the seat beside him and whispered, admiring, "Dude, your aunt always has great ideas. You're lucky." Ryan nodded, like he believed that. Like he thought this was going to be one of those sweet, emotional videos that made everyone clap and hug. I tried to catch Kendra's eye. One last silent warning. She didn't look at me. She clicked the button. The big TV screen on the patio lit up. Colorful text appeared in a fun, bubbly font. Ryan's most memorable moments. Cheerful music started playing, the kind you'd hear in a family slideshow, the kind that makes you assume the ending is warm. The screen cut to the first clip. Ryan as a newborn, naked on a changing table. The camera zoomed in, too close, too long. In the video, I could hear my own younger voice laughing softly, and someone, Kendra, saying, "I'm recording all of this." A few adults chuckled politely. "Oh," one neighbor said awkwardly. "Cute baby." But I wasn't laughing. I felt Ethan stiffen beside me. His hand slid instinctively to my lower back, like he was bracing me for impact. Ryan sat up straighter. His shoulders tightened. I saw it immediately, the shift. That preteen awareness, snapping on like a light. The realization that he was suddenly on display, and not in the way he wanted. I opened my mouth to speak. Before I could, the video cut. Ryan at 3 years old, sitting on the sofa. Then, a wet spot spreading on his shorts. Little Ryan looking down, startled. And then, as if the universe wanted to be cruel for sport, him reaching into his diaper and pulling out something brown, smearing it in panic, not understanding what he was doing. In the clip, Kendra's laughter rang out loud. "Oh my God, this scene is amazing, perfect." My younger voice replied faintly, "I'm recording. This is so funny." The yard went still, just for a second, like everyone's brain needed a moment to process what they were seeing. Then it happened. Laughter. Not soft, not polite. Real, uncontrollable, full-body laughter. A neighbor bent over, clutching her stomach. "Oh my God, I can't breathe." A boy at the table slapped his hands on the wood and wheezed, "No way! You smeared poop on yourself!" The kids screamed with laughter like it was the best thing they'd ever seen. And then, like the worst nightmare unfolding in slow motion, I saw phones come out. One kid lifted his phone toward the TV, filming the screen. Another shouted, "This is hilarious! Everyone has to see this!" Someone else nudged Ryan and laughed. "Bro, do you remember? What a legend." Ryan didn't laugh. He didn't even smile. His whole body went rigid. His face turned red, not the warm kind, but the kind that crawls up your neck like a rash. His hands curled into fists on his lap. I stepped forward. "Kendra," I snapped, voice sharp enough that a few heads turned. "Turn it off." Kendra didn't. She laughed like she was hosting a comedy show. "It's not over. There are more great scenes." I felt something break inside me. I moved closer, my voice lowering into something dangerous. "Turn it off. Now." Kendra finally looked at me, annoyed. Actually annoyed, like I was interrupting her big moment. "But Ophelia, there's still the scene when he was 5, and—" "Turn it off!" Ethan barked suddenly from behind me. His voice was so loud that even the kids froze for a beat. But Kendra's stubbornness didn't crack. She clutched the remote tighter like it belonged to her more than Ryan's dignity did. Ryan's classmates kept laughing. One boy, Brandon, shouted, "Ryan, do you still need diapers?" A chorus of laughter erupted again. And then I looked at my son. He had stood up, slowly, like his body was moving without his permission. His face had gone from red to purple. His lips trembled. His eyes were glossy, blinking too fast, trying to hold tears back like tears were a failure. Tyler stopped laughing. He leaned toward Ryan, panic blooming in his eyes. "Ryan, hey, calm down, Seb." But Ryan couldn't. His chair scraped back. Then it tipped over with a loud crash. Ryan didn't even flinch at the sound. He turned, silent, and ran, straight through the patio door, up the stairs. The whole yard watched him go, like a slow-motion car crash. A second later, the sound of his bedroom door slamming echoed through the house. Then, a lock clicking. That sound cut deeper than the laughter. The laughter started to die, awkwardly, like people suddenly remembered they were adults, watching a child fall apart. Kendra still stood by the TV, holding the remote, staring toward the second floor. Her smile had finally faltered. He'll come out," she said weakly. "They're beautiful memories." I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. For a second, everything blurred. The balloons, the sun, the half-eaten cake, the kids' red cups. All I could see was the invisible line that had been crossed, the one you can't uncross. I stormed forward and grabbed the remote from Kendra's hand. The TV was switching scenes again. Ryan at 6, dressed for Halloween, shaking with fear. I didn't let it play. I hit the power button so hard my thumb hurt. The screen went black. Silence. Kendra's head snapped toward me like I'd slapped her. What? She protested. I wasn't done. There are more. I turned on her. My voice shook, but not from fear. From rage. What did you just do? I demanded. Do you understand what you just did to him? Kendra stepped back, still defending herself like the problem was our reaction, not her choices. Ophelia, those are childhood memories. They're adorable. Everyone's laughing because it's cute. Ethan moved beside me, his face hard. He ran upstairs crying. Kendra rolled her eyes, actually rolled them. He's embarrassed. He'll thank me later. That's when I knew this wasn't an accident. This wasn't oops, I didn't realize. This was a personality flaw dressed up as fun. I turned sharply toward the kids. My voice went cold. You, phones, delete what you recorded, now. A boy named Jake fumbled instantly, face pale. Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. But another boy, Kyle, held his phone close to his chest like it was his right. But it was hilarious, he muttered. I stared straight into his eyes. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Delete it. Kyle's bravado crumpled. He hit delete with shaking fingers. Then, from the back, a quieter boy, Connor, raised his hand halfway like he was about to confess a crime. I already sent it to the Snapchat group, he whispered. My heart stopped beating for half a second. I stepped toward him. Take it down, I said. Connor's lip quivered. I don't know how. I held out my hand. Give me the phone. His fingers were shaking so badly the phone nearly slipped. I took it, opened the app, found the message, removed it, checked again, twice, to make sure it was gone. Then I handed it back. Go home, I said, voice flat. The party's over. One by one, the kids started scattering. The adults stood frozen in uncomfortable clusters, not sure whether to offer help or pretend they hadn't just watched a child's humiliation go viral in real time. Only Tyler lingered near the steps, glancing up toward Ryan's room like he wished he could climb the walls and protect him. I turned back to Kendra. She was hugging her laptop to her chest, chin lifted, still acting like she was the victim here. My voice dropped. Delete the original video, I said. From your laptop, from your phone, from the cloud. Everything. Kendra's eyes widened like I'd demanded her kidney. No, she snapped. This is my laptop. Those are family memories. Ethan's voice cut in, tight and controlled. You just showed it to 20 people. It's not private anymore. Kendra's mouth twisted. They're family and friends. I pointed toward the driveway where the kids had just run out. 8 kids recorded it, I said. 1 posted it. You still want to pretend this is harmless? Kendra's grip tightened. You're exaggerating. Kids these days are too sensitive. Too sensitive. The words hit me like gasoline. Because my son wasn't too sensitive. He was human. And Kendra had treated his humanity like entertainment. I was so close to losing control, so close to saying something unforgivable, that I didn't notice my mother stepping forward until she was already in the center of the yard. Diane Flores, usually gentle, usually soft-spoken, stood tall with her phone in her hand. Her eyes were calm. Her voice was colder than I'd ever heard it. All right, Kendra, she said. Since you think this is a beautiful gift and everyone's overreacting, let me show you what a truly special gift looks like. Kendra's face drained of color. And in that moment, I realized my sister was about to learn a lesson she wouldn't forget. Not ever. The yard went so quiet I could hear the balloons brushing against each other in the wind. My mother didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She stood there, phone in hand, spine straight, expression unreadable, and somehow that was more terrifying than yelling. This was the look Diane Flores got when she'd already made a decision and nothing in the room could undo it. Kendra stared at her, blinking fast. Mom, what are you doing? Mom didn't answer right away. She unlocked her phone with deliberate slowness, like she wanted everyone to understand that this moment wasn't impulsive. I'm teaching you something, she said calmly, since you think humiliation is love. A few guests shifted uncomfortably. Someone cleared their throat. No one left. Curiosity has a cruel grip. Kendra laughed nervously. Mom, come on, this isn't funny. Mom lifted her phone higher so everyone could see the screen glow against her face. Everyone, she said, her voice carrying through the yard without effort. Kendra shares a lot online. She's very open about her life. Kendra's smile cracked. Mom, don't. Mom ignored her. March 2024, she read clearly. Public post. Kendra lunged forward a step. Please. Mom continued. Worst day of my life. Farted really loud during parent-teacher conference. All the parents heard everything. I wanted to disappear. The silence after the last word was thick. Then, awkward chuckles. Not the explosive laughter from before, but sharp, uncomfortable ones. The kind people make when they don't know where to put their eyes. Kendra's face turned red so fast it was almost alarming. Her hands came up to her neck like she could physically push the color back down. Mom scrolled. 2020, she said. Another public post. Kendra shook her head frantically. Mom, stop, please. Mom didn't. Most embarrassing moment ever. Went to school with my skirt tucked into my underwear for 2 hours. A friend finally told me. I cried in the bathroom. This time the laughter was louder. A neighbor covered her mouth. Someone else winced. Kendra looked like she was shrinking in on herself. Her shoulders rounded, her chin trembled. Mom, she whispered, voice breaking. Please don't do this. Mom lowered the phone slightly and looked straight at her daughter. Why not? She asked. These are memories. Interesting ones, right? Everyone's laughing. The words were soft. The impact was brutal. Kendra opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Her eyes darted around the yard like she was searching for an escape route that didn't exist. Mom scrolled again. I have more, she said evenly, just like you told Ryan. That did it. Kendra's knees buckled. She grabbed the edge of a chair and sank into it, covering her face with both hands. Her shoulders started shaking, deep, ugly sobs tearing out of her chest. No, please, she cried. I get it now. I'm sorry. I really do. Dad stepped forward instinctively. Diane, maybe. Mom raised one hand. Not yet, Harold. She turned back to Kendra, her voice steady but deadly serious. Do you know the difference between what I'm doing and what you did to Ryan? Kendra sniffed, hands still covering her face. Those were my posts, she choked out. I chose to share them. Mom nodded once. Exactly. She stepped closer. You chose, she repeated. Ryan didn't. The words landed like a verdict. Kendra's hands dropped into her lap. She stared at the ground, shoulders shaking, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Mom continued, her tone firm but no longer cold. This was instruction now, not punishment. You don't get to decide what humiliates someone else, she said. Especially not a child. Especially not in front of his peers. No one spoke. Not a single person in the yard dared to interrupt. Mom glanced at the dark TV screen, then back at Kendra. And since you said there were more great scenes, she added quietly, should I show the photos from church? Kendra looked up in panic. What photos? Mom didn't answer right away. I have pictures of you at 9 years old, she said, her voice like ice. White dress, Christmas service, wet stain down the front, 200 people watching. And Kendra let out a sound that wasn't quite a sob and wasn't quite a scream. Please, she begged, please don't. Mom tilted her head slightly. Why not? Should I put it on the big TV? Let everyone laugh the way they laughed at Ryan? Kendra collapsed forward, elbows on her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. No, please, I understand. I swear I do. For a long moment, Mom just watched her. Not cruelly, not smugly, like a teacher waiting to see if the lesson had actually landed. Then she spoke again, quieter this time. Do you understand what it feels like, she asked, to want to disappear from your own body? Kendra nodded violently, tears dripping onto the ground. To have every eye on you, Mom continued, and no way to make it stop? Another nod. To know people are laughing at something you can never erase? Kendra's voice was barely a whisper. Yes. Mom straightened. Good, she said, because that's what you did to Ryan. She turned to me then. I hadn't realized I was shaking until Ethan's hand tightened around mine. Mom looked at me with something like apology in her eyes, like she hated that this was necessary but refused to pretend it wasn't. Then she faced Kendra again. Now, she said, you're going to delete everything. Kendra sniffed and nodded quickly. Yes, of course. She opened the laptop with trembling hands. In front of the remaining guests, 15 people who suddenly felt like witnesses instead of partygoers, Kendra deleted the video file, then the backup, then logged into her cloud storage and deleted it there too. Each click sounded loud in the silence, like confession. When she finished, she closed the laptop slowly, as if the weight of it had changed. Mom nodded once. You're going to go home now, she said, and you're going to reflect. Apologizing to Ryan will wait until he's ready. Kendra wiped her face, eyes swollen and red. She didn't argue. She didn't defend herself. She just nodded again. I'm so sorry, she whispered, to no one in particular. As she walked toward the door, she paused, glancing up the stairs. Ryan's door was still closed, the lock still firm. After she left, the yard felt hollow. The guests murmured quiet goodbyes, avoiding eye contact, carrying away their uneaten cake and discomfort. One by one, the house emptied until only family remained. I stood at the bottom of the stairs, staring at my son's door like it might open if I stared hard enough. Mom came to stand beside me. She didn't say anything. She just placed a hand on my shoulder and squeezed gently. Dad joined us, his voice low and steady. You did the right thing, Ophelia. You protected him. I nodded, but my throat was tight. Because protecting him hadn't stopped the damage. It had only stopped it from going further. Ethan and I went upstairs and sat on the floor outside Ryan's room. We knocked softly, called his name, told him we were there. No response. The lock stayed firm. Hours passed like that. The house darkened. And that's when it hit me. What Mom had said wasn't metaphorical. Some wounds don't bleed. They hide. And they take time. We stayed there longer than I can remember. Ethan leaned back against the hallway wall, knees pulled up, staring at the floor like he was trying to hold himself together by sheer force of will. I sat cross-legged outside Ryan's door, my palm resting flat against the wood, as if I could somehow reach him through it. "Ryan," I whispered for what felt like the 100th time. "Sweetheart, it's Mom." Nothing. The silence on the other side wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, defensive, the kind that told me he was awake, listening, choosing not to answer because answering meant being real again. Ethan cleared his throat. "Buddy," he said gently, "we're not mad. We just want to talk." Still nothing. I swallowed hard. My son had always been sensitive, but he'd never shut us out like this. This wasn't sulking. This was self-protection. After nearly 2 hours, I tried something different. "Ryan," I said softly, my voice shaking despite my effort to keep it steady. "You don't have to open the door. Just listen, okay?" The lock stayed silent. "I know today was awful," I continued. "I know you're embarrassed and hurt, and I know you probably feel like everyone saw something they shouldn't have." My throat tightened. "But you didn't do anything wrong." That was when we heard it. A small sound, a sniffle. My heart broke wide open. I stayed where I was, speaking quietly, carefully, like each word mattered more than air. "What happened today," I said, "doesn't define you. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you a joke. It just means someone crossed a line they never should have." Still no answer. Minutes passed. Then the lock clicked. Just once. The door didn't open all the way, only a crack. Ryan stood there in the dim light of his room, eyes swollen, face blotchy, hugging himself like he needed to keep all the pieces together. "I don't want to talk to everyone," he said hoarsely. "That's okay," I replied immediately. "You don't have to." He hesitated, then looked at Ethan. Can Mom come in alone?" Ethan nodded without hesitation. "Of course." He stepped back, giving us space, even though I could see how much it hurt him not to be part of this moment. Ryan opened the door just enough for me to slip inside, then closed it again behind me. The click of the lock sounded different this time, not defensive, but cautious. I sat beside him on the bed. He didn't look at me. "I'm scared," he whispered. "Of what?" I asked gently. He finally turned his face toward me, tears spilling freely now. "What if they never forget?" he asked. "What if everyone at school keeps laughing? What if no one wants to sit with me anymore?" Each question landed like a blow. I pulled him into my arms, and for the first time that day, he let himself collapse. His sobs shook his whole body. Deep, gut-wrenching cries that sounded too big for a 12-year-old. I held him tight. "Listen to me," I said softly, stroking his hair. "Every single person laughing today has their own embarrassing moments. Most of them are just lucky no one ever filmed theirs." He sniffed. "It still feels like everyone saw me naked." I closed my eyes, feeling the truth of that sentence settle into my bones. "I know," I whispered, "and that's why what your aunt did was wrong. That's why we stopped it." He was quiet for a long time after that. Eventually, exhaustion pulled him into a restless sleep. I stayed with him until his breathing evened out, then quietly unlocked the door and stepped into the hallway where Ethan was waiting. "How is he?" Ethan asked, voice tight. "Broken," I said honestly, "but not alone." That night, neither of us slept much. The next morning, the day I had been dreading, I picked Ryan up from school early. I'd spent the entire day imagining worst-case scenarios: tears, isolation, cruel whispers following him down hallways. But when Ryan got into the car, he surprised me. He buckled his seatbelt and gave me a small, tired smile. "It wasn't as bad as I thought," he said. My heart leapt. "Really?" He nodded. "A couple kids tried to joke about it, but Tyler shut them down." I blinked. "How?" Ryan shrugged. He told Brandon everyone remembered him crying in 5th grade, and Kyle, he reminded people about the fire drill thing. I couldn't help it. I laughed softly through tears. "Tyler didn't make fun of them," Ryan added quickly. "He just said everyone has stuff they don't want remembered." In that moment, I understood something important. A true friend doesn't erase pain. They stand between you and it. Ryan leaned his head against the window, looking tired but steadier. "I still don't want to see Aunt Kendra," he said quietly. "That's okay," I replied without hesitation. "You don't have to." That night, after Ryan went to bed, Ethan sat with me at the kitchen table, fingers wrapped around a cold mug of coffee. "You know this isn't over," he said carefully. "I know. And it might get messy," he added. I met his eyes. "I don't care. Ryan comes first." Ethan reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I'm with you," he said. I didn't know it yet, but the outside world wasn't done testing us, and neither was Kendra. The days after Ryan's birthday moved strangely. Quiet on the surface, loud underneath. Kendra didn't disappear. She tried to come by twice that week, both times stopping short when she realized Ryan's bedroom door was shut tight upstairs. The first time, she hovered in the living room, hands twisting together, eyes darting toward the stairs, like she hoped guilt alone might summon him. Ryan never came down. The second time, she didn't even take her shoes off. She stood near the entryway, voice low, asking if he was home. When I nodded, she swallowed hard and left without another word. My parents worried. They called me almost every day, soft suggestions, careful phrasing. "He'll need time," Mom said. "She learned her lesson," Dad added. "Don't let this break the family," they both warned. I listened, but I didn't push. Because one thing had become painfully clear to me: forgiveness that's forced isn't forgiveness at all. It's compliance. And Ryan had already had his boundaries crushed once. I wasn't going to be the person who did it again. Ethan stood firmly beside me. When relatives hinted that we were dragging things out, he shut it down calmly and publicly. "He's a kid," Ethan said. "He gets to decide when he's ready." That should have been the end of it. But life, as usual, wasn't done stirring. 3 days after the party, I started noticing things online. Subtle things at first. Vague posts, shared memes about messy families and dodging bullets, comments that felt just a little too pointed to be coincidence. I knew exactly where they were coming from. Vanessa, Ethan's ex-girlfriend. She'd been quiet for months. Too quiet. But the moment word of the birthday incident made its way through mutual friends, she surfaced like a shark that smelled blood in the water. "She's implying it's us," I told Ethan one night, holding my phone out. "That our home is some kind of circus." Ethan didn't hesitate. He took the phone, opened his own account, and replied, not with insults, not with drama, but with clarity. "Keep my family's name out of your mouth," he wrote, especially when a child was hurt. Then he blocked her. Everywhere. No discussion, no hesitation. That moment mattered more than he knew. Because when your child is wounded, the world has a way of testing who's really in your corner and who's just watching for entertainment. A full week passed. Ryan still avoided Kendra. Every time her car pulled into the driveway, he went upstairs quietly, shutting his door without a sound. Not slamming. Not locking in panic. Just choosing space. Then yesterday something changed. Kendra came by again. But this time, she didn't knock loudly. She didn't call out. She didn't even look at me. She walked straight upstairs. My stomach tightened. "Kendra." She shook her head gently. "Just let me try something." I followed at a distance, heart racing. Kendra stopped outside Ryan's door. She sat down on the floor, right there in the hallway, and pulled a folded piece of paper from her bag. She slid it carefully under the door. Then she waited. No words, no pressure, just quiet. I stood frozen at the bottom of the stairs, afraid to breathe. Minutes passed. 10:20. At the 30-minute mark, I was about to suggest she leave to protect Ryan from another disappointment when the lock clicked. The door opened. Not wide. Just enough. Ryan stood there, eyes cautious, face guarded. Kendra didn't rush him. She stayed seated, looking up at him like she understood she was on trial. "I wrote you a letter," she said softly. "You don't have to forgive me. You don't even have to talk to me. I just wanted you to know. I finally understand." Ryan hesitated. Then he stepped back. The door opened wider. They went inside together, and the door closed. Ethan and I stood in the hallway, staring at the wood like it might disappear if we looked too hard. They stayed in there for hours. Sometimes we heard voices, quiet, broken, tentative. Sometimes there was nothing but silence. I didn't interrupt. I didn't dare. When the door finally opened again, the house felt different. Not healed, but breathing. Ryan came out first. His eyes were red, but his shoulders were lighter. Kendra followed, her face bare of makeup, eyes swollen, expression stripped of every trace of arrogance she'd once worn so easily. She didn't speak. Neither did Ryan. But he didn't run upstairs. That night, we all sat around the dinner table together. Me, Ethan, my parents, Kendra, and Ryan. The conversation was awkward, careful, but real. No jokes, no pretending. Just presence. Later, while I was washing dishes, Ryan came up beside me. I told her she doesn't get to film me anymore, he said quietly. I turned to him. And? She agreed, he said. No pictures, no videos, unless I say yes. My chest tightened. And? I prompted gently. He took a breath. I told her I'll give her a chance, to see if she really changed. I nodded, blinking fast. That's very brave of you. He shrugged. I'm not saying I forgive her, not yet. That's okay, I said immediately. You don't have to. He gave me a small smile. I know. After everything, some people told us we forgave too quickly. Others said Kendra didn't deserve another chance at all. Maybe they're right. But here's what I know. Children deserve boundaries. They deserve dignity. They deserve adults who protect them, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it costs relationships. And people who cross those boundaries don't earn forgiveness with words. They earn it with patience, with change, with waiting quietly outside a door until the person they hurt decides to open it. So I'll ask you what I asked myself that night, standing in the hallway with my heart in my throat. Was I wrong to let her try again? Does someone who caused that kind of hurt deserve forgiveness? And was my mother right to teach her that lesson the way she did? I'd really like to know what you think, because some wounds heal quickly, and some heal slowly. But all of them deserve to be taken seriously.